He never expected his quiet morning under Lincoln Bridge to expose one of the largest drug operations in the city's history. When 5 members of the notorious Viper Cartel decided to threaten the homeless veteran, they had no idea they were messing with one of the military's most lethal snipers. Marcus Patterson had spent 3 years hiding his true identity, masking his Navy SEAL training behind the facade of a broken homeless man. The beard and dirty clothes weren't a disguise. It was just what happened after leaving the service. But beneath that weathered exterior was a man who had taken over 200 confirmed kills in Afghanistan. When Lance Viper Rodriguez and his cartel soldiers targeted the broken veteran that morning, they thought they'd found an easy mark. Instead, their actions would trigger a chain of events that would dismantle their entire Harbor District operation and prove that sometimes the most dangerous enemies are the ones society has forgotten. The morning fog rolled off Riverport Harbor as Marcus Patterson pushed his squeaky shopping cart through Harbor District's empty streets. At 47, he looked exactly like what people expected: another broken veteran, another casualty that society preferred to ignore. His unkempt beard, dirty layered clothes, and hunched posture told the story everyone wanted to believe. They couldn't be more wrong. What they didn't know was that beneath the homeless exterior lived a man who had been called Ghost by his SEAL teammates, a sniper so deadly that enemy forces had placed a $100,000 bounty on his head. Marcus stopped at Tony's corner store where the elderly owner was arranging newspapers. "Morning, Marcus," Tony Marcelli called warmly. "Coffee's fresh." "Appreciate it, Tony," Marcus replied, his voice rough. The old man never asked for payment, never treated him like street trash. "How's that granddaughter?" Marcus asked. "Maria's real good," Tony beamed. "Wants to teach at Roosevelt Elementary. Says she's going to help all the neighborhood kids." Marcus accepted the coffee, his trained senses already detecting something that made his blood freeze. The rumble of motorcycles approaching, not random traffic, but coordinated movement. Military precision that meant only one thing. The predators had arrived in Harbor District. 3 Harley-Davidsons pulled up with deliberate intimidation. The leader dismounted with casual arrogance, prison tattoos covering his arms, dead eyes that had seen too much violence. "Morning, old man," Viper Rodriguez said to Tony, his voice carrying lethal authority. "Beautiful neighborhood. Real peaceful." Tony's hand trembled on his cup. "Can I help you?" Marcus positioned himself behind a newspaper rack, fingers finding the emergency phone hidden in his jacket. What happened next would change everything. But the cartel had no idea they were being watched by someone who had spent 12 years perfecting the art of invisible warfare. "We're expanding business operations," Viper continued, stepping closer in a dominance display. "Wondering about local cooperation levels." The threat was unmistakable. Marcus had seen this exact approach in Afghanistan, how criminal organizations established territory through fear before escalating to violence. "This is a family neighborhood," Tony said carefully. "Lots of kids. People want peace." "Peace is what we provide," Viper smiled coldly. "For a reasonable fee." Marcus watched with detached analysis, noting how Viper's associates had positioned themselves to cut off escape routes. Roosevelt Elementary was 4 blocks away. This wasn't random expansion. This was systematic conquest of territory that included children. But what the cartel couldn't know was that their intimidation was being observed by someone who had spent years learning how to eliminate threats before they became unstoppable. "I'll think about it," Tony replied diplomatically. "Sure," Viper nodded, his tone suggesting thinking time was very limited. "We'll be around getting acquainted with folks." As the cartel's soldiers roared away, Marcus memorized plates, modifications, tactical positioning. Years of intelligence gathering kicked in automatically. Tony looked shaken. "Marcus, I got a bad feeling." "What kind?" Marcus asked, though he already knew. "The kind that says those boys are planning something big and regular folks won't survive it." Marcus finished his coffee, mind shifting into operational mode. The cartel's approach was too systematic, too professional. This was coordinated takeover beginning. "Tony," Marcus said carefully, "next few days, if you see them again, don't handle it alone. Call someone." Tony studied Marcus's face, hearing something that didn't match the homeless exterior. "You know about this kind of trouble." "I know enough," Marcus replied, turning toward Lincoln Bridge. Be careful. Walking away, Marcus's mind raced through scenarios he'd hoped never to face. The Viper Cartel's expansion threatened everything worth protecting. Tony's store, Roosevelt Elementary, families trying to build decent lives. For 3 years, he'd told himself his fighting days were over, that the guilt from his last mission, the target elimination gone wrong, civilian casualties that ended his career, meant he had no right to weapons again. But settling under Lincoln Bridge, Marcus realized something that would change Harbor District forever. Some battles choose you, whether you're ready or not. The Viper Cartel thought they were moving into undefended territory. They had no idea they were about to encounter a ghost who had never learned to stop protecting people. What happened next would teach them why underestimating a homeless veteran was the deadliest mistake they could make. But first, the cartel needed to understand exactly what kind of neighborhood they were trying to claim. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. The next morning brought intelligence that made Marcus's blood run cold. Sarah Martinez's panicked voice crackled through police frequencies. Emergency dispatch, Roosevelt Elementary. Armed men surveilling our building. Children arriving in 20 minutes. Marcus grabbed binoculars, moving to his observation post on the abandoned factory roof. Through military-grade optics, he counted 6 cartel members positioned around the school with professional precision. They weren't expanding territory anymore. They were targeting children. Roosevelt Elementary, dispatch here, came the reply that confirmed Marcus's worst fears. No units available. Estimated response, 45 minutes. 45 minutes meant children would be hostages. Marcus had seen this in Afghanistan. Criminals using schools to control communities through terror. But what the Viper Cartel was about to discover was that some neighborhoods have guardians they never see coming. Marcus retrieved his weapon system. A modified hunting rifle, customized for military precision at distances beyond response capability. Through his scope, he watched professional surveillance, 2 at main entrance, 2 covering playground, 2 in vehicles with communications. These weren't street thugs. These were trained operators conducting systematic assessment for something requiring detailed intelligence, which meant they were planning entry during school hours. His phone buzzed. Neighborhood meeting tonight? People scared, looking for answers. But answers would wait. In 15 minutes, buses full of children would arrive at a school under armed surveillance. Marcus made the decision that would change everything. The first shot disabled their lead vehicle's engine, the precisely placed round making it completely inoperable. The second shot took out their communications antenna. Chaos erupted as 6 soldiers tried to identify an invisible threat. Marcus keyed their frequency. Viper elements, this is Overwatch. You're surveilling children. 30 seconds to withdraw before lethal engagement. Overwatch, identify yourself. Viper Rodriguez's voice crackled with anger and growing fear. You don't understand the situation, Marcus replied coldly. Children are off limits. Only warning. Through his scope, Marcus watched Viper gesture frantically, trying to coordinate response to a threat they couldn't locate. The third shot shattered their backup vehicle's windshield, demonstrating precision that could have targeted flesh instead. Last chance, Marcus broadcast. Withdraw or discover what precision fire means. What happened next proved that even experienced criminals recognize superior tactics. The cartel soldiers broke formation, retreating toward disabled vehicles. The engagement lasted 5 minutes, long enough to send an unmistakable message, short enough to avoid police response. But Marcus knew this was just the opening move. The Viper Cartel would return with overwhelming force, burning desire to eliminate whoever dared interfere. What they didn't understand was they'd face someone who had spent 12 years learning to fight better-equipped opponents in deadlier places. As evening fell, Marcus monitored communications. Official reports would classify this as gang violence interrupted by unknown sniper, but the cartel's response would be swift and professional. Tomorrow would bring larger forces with military equipment designed to locate and eliminate their invisible enemy. But that confrontation would wait. Tonight, Marcus had a community meeting to attend and a neighborhood to prepare for war. They thought they were dealing with random resistance, but they were about to learn why you never threaten a SEAL's adopted home. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. The community center was packed when Marcus arrived, his homeless appearance making him invisible among concerned residents. Sarah Martinez commanded attention from the front. "Someone is protecting us," Sarah began steadily. "We need to support that effort without making things worse." Marcus studied faces with operational precision, cataloging allies and threats. What he saw was desperate hope from people victimized too long. "Who is this person?" asked Tom Harrison, an unemployed factory worker. "How do we contact them?" "Maybe that's wrong," suggested Mrs. Chen. "Maybe we ask what we can do to help." Sarah produced detailed plans for neighborhood watch, communications, law enforcement coordination that showed remarkable strategic thinking. "We support protection without creating targets," Sarah emphasized. "No vigilante actions. We organize, communicate, let our guardian handle danger." Marcus approved her assessment. Community resistance worked through intelligence and logistics, not direct confrontation. "If our protector is listening," Sarah said, looking directly where Marcus sat, "we want them knowing Harbor District is grateful and ready to provide support." Her directness told Marcus she was more observant than he'd credited. As the meeting ended, Marcus approached Sarah carefully. "Good meeting," he said quietly, voice carrying unexpected authority. "Marcus," Sarah replied with recognition, "I hoped you'd be here." "Smart approach to community defense," Marcus observed. "You know defensive tactics," Sarah pressed, echoing previous conversation with new intensity. "Good strategy recognition," Marcus replied carefully. "Community organization multiplies security effectiveness." Sarah set down papers, looking directly at him. "Are you the one who saved our school?" The question hung like discharged rifle smoke. Marcus had expected it. Sarah was too intelligent not to notice patterns. "Ma'am," Marcus said quietly, "I'm just a guy who worked security and cares about good people." "Not really an answer. Only answer I can give." Sarah nodded, understanding implications. "If hypothetically someone protected our neighborhood, what support would help?" "Hypothetically? Early warning intelligence, secure communications, medical supplies, equipment storage, safe houses if complicated. Emergency medical attention? Roosevelt Elementary has good facilities, privacy after hours. I'll remember that." As Marcus left, Sarah stopped him. "The person protecting us, working alone against professional criminals?" Marcus considered carefully. "People doing this work usually operate alone. Safer, fewer complications. But community support makes survival difference. Then Harbor District ensures that support's available." Walking to Lincoln Bridge, Marcus reflected on dramatic changes. He'd gone from invisible homeless veteran to community resistance center while maintaining the fiction of concerned citizen with experience. His phone buzzed. "Overwatch, this is Community Watch. Network established, ready for support." Marcus smiled, typing back. "Community Watch, this is Overwatch. Message received. Stand by for tasking." The Viper Cartel thought they faced isolated sniper resistance. They actually dealt with organized community around a guardian they trusted but didn't acknowledge. Exactly the asymmetric advantage making small units effective against larger forces. But tomorrow would test that advantage completely because intelligence indicated Viper Rodriguez was bringing serious reinforcements to Harbor District. The war was escalating from intimidation to something much more dangerous. And the community learning to hope would discover whether their guardian was everything they believed. What happened next would determine if Harbor District remained free or fell under cartel control. But first, the Viper Cartel would learn why you never threaten a SEAL's home. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The attack came at dawn with military precision that made Marcus's training kick into overdrive. Mrs. Chen's voice crackled at 5:30. "Overwatch, multiple vehicles approaching, 8 trucks, maybe 40 personnel, moving with purpose." Marcus was positioned on the factory roof, rifle deployed with clear sightlines. Through his scope, he watched the Viper Cartel's response force arrive with tactical coordination confirming his worst fears. These weren't local criminals. These were professional operators, Military contractors with serious equipment and training that meant this fight would be exponentially more dangerous. Community watch, execute emergency protocol Alpha, Marcus radioed with authority. All civilians to safe positions immediately. Not a drill. The cartel convoy executed textbook urban assault deployment. One element surrounded Roosevelt Elementary. Another established perimeter around Tony's store. The third moved toward Lincoln Bridge, intending to flush out their invisible enemy. Wrong location, but their assessment showed dangerous competence. Through his scope, Marcus counted 12 personnel moving toward the school with weapons and breaching charges. They weren't negotiating anymore. They were making an example to terrorize the community into submission. His phone buzzed from Sarah. 62 children, 8 teachers secure in interior rooms. How long to hold? Marcus typed, "Stay low. Help is here. Do not engage." Marcus keyed the cartel frequency. Viper command 30 seconds to withdraw from school grounds before lethal engagement. Overwatch. This is Viper 6, came professional military response. Identify yourself and state authority. Military protocol, Marcus noted grimly. Someone sent operators understanding tactical communication. Viper 6, authority is irrelevant when targeting children, Marcus replied by crosshairs on the commander's center mass. 20 seconds before I demonstrate precision fire. Overwatch, we have superior numbers, equipment, training, Viper 6 responded confidently. Reconsider before this escalates beyond your control. Marcus smiled coldly, settling into shooting position. Superior numbers meant nothing when your opponent controlled high ground and had spent 3 years preparing for this exact scenario. Viper 6, Marcus said quietly, you just made your final error. The first shot took out their communications antenna, cutting coordination. The second disabled their command vehicle's engine. The third punched through the team leader's shoulder, approaching Roosevelt Elementary, precisely placed to disable, demonstrating capability and restraint. Viper 6, that was demonstration, Marcus broadcast, acquiring next target. Next round's center mass on command element. 10 seconds to withdraw. Chaos erupted as 40 soldiers tried to identify an invisible threat. Their training showed improper counter-sniper procedures while establishing defensive positions, which meant this was becoming exactly the urban warfare that made Marcus legendary among SEAL teammates. The cartel's second element surrounded Tony's store, using the elderly owner as leverage. Marcus shifted aim to store perimeter. 4 precision shots disabled engines and communications, demonstrating their sniper could reach them anywhere, whenever he chose. All units, Viper 6's voice carried increasing desperation, designated marksmen with superior and military capability. Execute dispersal pattern Delta, begin systematic search. Professional terminology, but conventional doctrine against someone perfecting unconventional warfare where textbook tactics got you killed. Marcus triggered his major surprise. Explosive charges positioned throughout Harbor District over 3 years. Not to kill, but create confusion, channel movement into kill zones, and demonstrate their simple homeless target had been preparing longer than they'd been planning. What the hell? Someone screamed as dust and smoke filled streets. IEDs! We've got IEDs! Another voice panicked. This isn't just a sniper, coordinated explosives and prepositioned assets. Marcus began systematic dismantling with methodical precision that made him most feared in his team. Shot after shot found marks, not killing but disabling and demoralizing. Weapons, hands, shoulders, knees, equipment. Each wound precise enough to neutralize while avoiding fatalities. Viper 6, this is Viper 3, urgency crackling. Heavy casualties, cannot locate shooter. Request immediate withdrawal permission. Negative, the commander responded, strain audible. We don't leave until threat eliminated. But Marcus had saved his biggest surprise. Police sirens filled the air as tactical units converged. Not delayed response, but immediate professional backup pre-positioned based on intelligence Marcus provided through anonymous tips. Sir, major law enforcement inbound, reported a soldier. SWAT teams, federal implications. Through his scope, Marcus watched Viper 6 process his tactical situation with competence, understanding when missions became unsalvageable. All units, immediate tactical withdrawal to Rally Point Charlie, the commander finally ordered with bitter defeat. Operation compromised. Marcus tracked their fighting withdrawal using proper techniques, minimizing exposure. Their retreat was exactly anticipated. moving directly into his final surprise. The warehouse where cartels staged erupted in controlled explosions as Marcus triggered charges placed during weeks of reconnaissance. Not enough for casualties, but sufficient to destroy equipment, supplies, communications, and regrouping hopes. Base, this is Viper 6. Desperation replacing confidence. Staging area compromised. Need immediate extraction and support. Marcus keyed radio final time. Viper 6, this is Overwatch. You came to terrorize children and civilians. Today you learned some neighborhoods are defended by people you can't intimidate, locate, or eliminate. Remember that Ghost is watching. As police secured the area and survivors retreated in disarray, Marcus began withdrawal using prepared routes. The engagement lasted 53 minutes, achieving every objective, demonstrating professional military capability, showing organized resistance worked, and establishing reputation, keeping other criminals away forever. More importantly, it proved Marcus's skills could protect rather than destroy, build communities rather than eliminate targets. Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. 1 week after the battle, Harbor District had transformed completely. Children played safely on Roosevelt Elementary's playground, Tony's store bustled with customers, and the Viper Cartel had become a cautionary tale whispered in criminal circles across 3 states. Marcus sat under Lincoln Bridge, watching the sunset paint the harbor in shades of gold. His secure phone buzzed with a message from Sarah Martinez. Community watch meeting tonight. Special guest speaker on neighborhood security. Hope you can attend. Marcus smiled, understanding the coded invitation. The community had learned to communicate in ways that protected their guardians' anonymity while maintaining the network that kept them safe. At the community center that evening, Sarah addressed a packed room of residents who no longer looked like victims. Harbor District has become a model for community-based security, Sarah announced to enthusiastic applause. Other neighborhoods are requesting consultations on our methods. Marcus listened from his corner seat as Sarah outlined expansion plans, community watch networks spreading to other vulnerable areas, training programs for civilian resistance, coordination with law enforcement that protected communities without requiring official military intervention. Our success proves that ordinary people can defend themselves when properly organized and supported, Sarah continued, her eyes finding Marcus's position. Sometimes the most effective protection comes from those society has overlooked. After the meeting, Sarah approached Marcus with a manila envelope. Consulting contract, she explained quietly. Community Watch has received federal funding to expand our security model to other at-risk neighborhoods. We need an experienced coordinator. Marcus opened the envelope, finding official documents that would give him legitimate cover for operations across multiple jurisdictions. Marcus Patterson, Security Consultant, Community Defense Specialist. The pay's good, Sarah added with a smile, includes housing allowance, medical benefits, and a budget for equipment acquisition. Seemed like time for Ghost to have official support. Marcus looked around the community center, seeing faces that no longer carried the haunted look of people living in fear. Children drew pictures on bulletin boards, elderly residents planned neighborhood improvements, parents discussed school activities without worry about cartel surveillance. Other communities need what we built here, Sarah said quietly. They need someone who understands how to organize defense without creating warfare. Someone who knows the difference between protection and revenge. Marcus thought about the guilt that had driven him to the streets 3 years ago, the civilian casualties that had ended his military career, the belief that his skills only brought destruction. Sarah, he said finally, if Community Watch is expanding operations, you'll need someone who understands coordination, intelligence gathering, community organization. Are you offering to be my handler? Sarah smiled. I'm saying Ghost works better with proper support structure. They shook hands as equals, the teacher who had learned to lead a resistance movement and the veteran who had learned that his deadly skills could serve life instead of death. Outside, Harbor District hummed with the quiet activity of a neighborhood at peace. Street lights illuminated children's chalk drawings on sidewalks. Elderly residents tended small gardens. Families gathered on porches to enjoy evening air without fear. Marcus's phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Overwatch, this is Riverside Community Watch. We have a cartel problem and heard about your methods. Can you help? Marcus smiled, typing back, Riverside Community Watch, this is Community Defense Consulting. We'll be in touch within 24 hours. Help is on the way. As he walked back toward the apartment Sarah had helped him secure, his first real home in 3 years, Marcus realized that his war hadn't ended in Harbor District. It had just found its true purpose. The Viper Cartel had taught him that some battles were worth fighting. The community had taught him that some fights were worth living for. And now, in the growing network of neighborhoods learning to protect themselves, Ghost had found something he thought was lost forever, a mission worth completing, a team worth trusting, and a future worth defending. Harbor District was safe. But across the country, other communities faced the same threats, the same fears, the same need for protection that official authorities couldn't provide. Marcus Ghost Patterson was no longer homeless, no longer alone, and no longer haunted by guilt over missions gone wrong. He was exactly what America needed, a guardian who understood that sometimes the most effective weapon isn't superior firepower, but the determination to protect what matters most. And in a world where criminals thought they could terrorize communities with impunity, Ghost was about to teach them a lesson they'd never forget. Some neighborhoods fight back, some veterans never stop serving, and some ghosts protect the living. The war for America's forgotten communities had just begun, and Marcus Patterson was ready for duty. Did you enjoy this incredible story? If Marcus's hidden skills and community protection amazed you, you're going to love what we have coming next. Show your support. Like this video if the homeless veteran's true identity shocked you. Comment below, which part surprised you the most? Share with friends who love underdog stories with epic reveals. Never miss a story. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for incredible stories like this every single day. Join the conversation. What kind of hidden identity story would you like to see next? Drop your ideas in the comments.